The game's the game, yeah?
That's a step
A fight's a fight. No. Don't worry about it's a step over. It's done. What I'm saying now is all bets are off.
And Conor has that, and Tony has the task of having to do that with Conor. He has to make sure that he uses that fire and that aggression and that will to win in the right pattern.
I'm going for a lot for Conor Benn with the spitefulness and the hatred that he has. And I know when you really dislike someone, it brings something out of you. But I'm looking forward to that fight.
It's a mismatch. It's an entertaining matchup.
Why is it a mismatch?
Because of ability, because of weight classes.
Boxing pros have predicted the winner of the Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn fight. Eddie Hearn predicts Conor Benn will be a caged animal when the bell rings in April. He acknowledges Benn's size disadvantage, but believes his hunger, speed, and aggression will make up for it. Hearn sees Benn's relentless pressure as a key factor, making the fight an intense and explosive battle.
Can't wait. I mean, look, Eubank's playing a blinder for the promotion of the fight. I mean, a little bit annoying. I mean, unfortunately, if I could fight, I'd want to give him a slap myself, but that's not going to happen. So, Conor's fired up. I mean, honestly, I've never seen someone put themselves through what he is putting himself through in training camp. He is going to be like a caged animal when that bell goes on April 26th. A big disadvantage in size, but he makes up for it in attribute, hunger, youth, tenacity, volatility, and he is in camp with his dad, grafting and dreaming every day of violating Chris Eubank Jr. on April 26th and doing it in spectacular fashion. And I can't wait.
Many boxing professionals view the fight as a mismatch due to the significant weight class differences between the two fighters. The concern centers around Benn moving up 2 weight divisions to face Eubank Jr., who has been competing at a higher weight class for most of his career. This leap raises questions about Benn's ability to handle the physical demands and power at the super middleweight level. The general consensus is that size and weight advantages often play a crucial role in determining the outcome of a bout, potentially tilting the scales in favor of Eubank Jr.
It's a mismatch. It's an entertaining matchup.
Why is it a mismatch?
Because of ability, because of weight classes. Chris Jr. is a middleweight and a super middleweight. He's naturally a super middleweight. So, he's having to starve himself to come down and, with all the catch weights and all of this stuff, it's a mismatch. He is operated at world level. He's been in with the likes of George Groves and, the list goes on. It's a mismatch in ability and weight class.
Spencer Fearon, a respected boxing analyst, highlights the deep-rooted history between the Eubank and Benn families. He emphasizes that the rivalry, which began with their father's legendary bouts, adds a compelling narrative to the upcoming fight. Fearon notes that this generational continuation has captured the public's imagination, making it a highly talked-about fight. The historical context not only adds intrigue, but also places additional pressure on both fighters to uphold their family legacies.
And the hatred that he has. And I know when you really dislike someone, it brings something out of you. But, I'm looking forward to that fight. For the simple fact is that event within itself is fantastic because it's crossed over. Lots of people are talking about it. Everywhere you go, people are talking about it. There is nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely excellent. And plus, I can remember when the two fathers first fought, and the second time is when they fought in October of of '93. But when the fathers first fought, when they first went at it, I remember that fight clearly in my head. It was a Sunday night. It was at November 18th, 1990, and it was like it seemed like the world stopped to watch that fight. And this has drawn something from it because everybody's talking about it. And fair play to both men. They're selling the fight really well, which is genuine. It's not orchestrated. Oh, you're going to do this. No, it's proper. So I'm looking forward to that fight. May the better man win.
Yeah, for sure.
The historical context not only adds intrigue, but also places additional pressure on both fighters to uphold their family legacies. Conor Benn has openly expressed the weight of the legacy left by his father, Nigel Benn, regarding the Eubank rivalry. He humorously questioned why his father left him to deal with the ongoing feud, highlighting the personal and emotional dimensions of the matchup. This candid acknowledgement underscores the unique challenges Benn faces, balancing personal history with professional aspirations.
It's only right that I do justice for the second fight that was a draw that he should have won. Ultimately, I'm just, Dad, why have you left your dirty laundry to me, mate? Why have I got to close the show for you? Why have I got to handle your dirty business? I've got to do this for my dad, because he couldn't do it himself.
Brave man, Conor. Brave man.
Darren Barker, a former middleweight champion, emphasizes the critical role of the jab in this contest. He asserts that Conor Benn possesses a superior jab, which could be a decisive factor in the fight. Barker points out that Benn's natural aggression, combined with an effective jab, could disrupt Eubank Jr. Anti-Segis' rhythm and strategy. This technical insight suggests that despite the size disadvantage, Benn's skill set could pose significant challenges for Eubank Jr.
Important. So yes, attacks to the body going to be paramount. I think the jab crucial. I think out of the two, Conor has the better jab. At times, Eubank Jr.'s jab's been non-existent. We see him starting to use his jab a little bit more under his short time with Roy Jones, but it's a shot that he neglects. So yeah, I think variation, certainly from Conor Benn, is going to be much needed on April 26th.
Obviously, we've seen quite a fiery build-up between the pair. Do you feel like Junior's trying to play up to that, trying to get beneath the skin of Conor Benn and hoping that he just disrupts him and his mentality going through his camp and ultimately leading up to fight night?
Yeah, I think so. That's maturity and experience. That's how. But Conor's naturally fiery. Conor has that bit between his teeth. He's his dad's son. His dad was as fiery as they come, and so was Conor. I think if Chris Eubank Jr. was placid and respectful, I think Conor would still be fiery. But yeah, he's. I would have thought he's won quite a lot of people over Chris Eubank Jr. Although him and his dad have always been Marmite, you either love him or you hate him. I think where he's been so outspoken and he said things a lot of people probably wouldn't have. People have sort of warmed to him, but there's always a goodie and a villain in a lot of these grudge matches. But this one seems to have really a split opinion. They both have.
Renowned trainer Roy Jones Jr. has worked closely with Chris Eubank Jr. and attests to his significant improvements. Jones emphasizes that Eubank Jr.'s enhanced skills, coupled with his natural size and strength, could present serious problems for Benn. He suggests that if Benn's punches fail to make a substantial impact, Eubank Jr. could dominate the fight, leveraging his physical advantages and refined techniques.
How do you see that one going?
Very tough fight for Conor. Not saying he can't win it because one big left hook could change anything. But to me, his best chance are to try to land a big shot. If that don't happen, or if he lands it and it don't hurt Chris, then it's going to be pretty rough for him because Chris is definitely an improved fighter. You understand me? And even the stuff he's doing now, he's gonna continue to get better. But I think when he came down there with me for that year, it improved his foundation. You understand me? So it made him a better fighter. So he's gonna be hard to beat for anybody, especially a guy that's smaller than him. But we saw Liam Smith pull out the upset at one time, so I know that gave Ben much more hope that he could probably do the same. So it's gonna be a great fight. Both fighters are great fighters. I love both of them. I think Chris is a little bigger and has the advantage because he's bigger, but it's going to be a great fight.
You know what? A lot of people are talking about it, Roy. You know about cutting weight and whatnot. A lot of people talking about Chris Eubank Jr. now being at 160 and maybe being tight at that weight now. But the rehydration clause, £10, I'm saying, listen, with a £10 rehydration clause in it, that won't affect him at all.
That won't affect him at all, but I don't really think.
Former super middleweight champion Carl Froch has expressed lukewarm enthusiasm about the matchup. He points out that Eubank Jr.'s infrequent fighting schedule and Benn's relatively unproven record at higher weight classes diminish the fight's excitement. Froch's comments reflect a segment of the boxing community that questions the competitive legitimacy and entertainment value of the bout.
The Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight does absolutely nothing for me.
Really?
Yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. lost to George Groves, he lost to Billy Joe Saunders, he doesn't box, he boxes once a year. He looked terrible in his last fight. He was slow with his jab, he was leaving his chin in the air, his balance looks like it's gone. He's 36 years old, talking about fighting Canelo Alvarez and taking on all these top, he was talking about Triple G for a while, who's now gone 40 and retired.
Yeah.
Conor Benn, what's Conor Benn done?
Not a lot, to be fair.
He beat Chris Algieri and failed, he's failed that drugs test. We're not seeing him do anything.
Yeah,
he's fought nobody, he's not developed. He's not developed, he's done nothing. So for Conor Benn to jump in there with Chris Eubank Jr., the only reason that fight would be close is because they're probably going to drain Eubank down to 160, a middleweight. And then, but Conor Benn's having to come up from 147.
Yeah.
So
the gap there
it's not an exciting fight. It don't prove anything.
British middleweight contender Hamza Shiraz has voiced confidence in Conor Benn's chances. He believes that Benn's aggressive, high-pressure style could be the key to overcoming Eubank Jr. Ait Warriors' advantages. Shiraz's perspective highlights the potential effectiveness of Benn's relentless approach, suggesting that sustained aggression could offset the size disparity.
And won't get the better of Eubank?
I think Conor Benn beats Eubank, but I kind of need Eubank to win. Do you know what I mean? For myself, from a selfish perspective, I need him to win.
Did you want to fight him?
Yeah, exactly.
Would it be the first defence if you win that, or when you win that WBC title? Is that someone that you would choose?
100%, 100%. As long as obviously everyone's okay with it, it'd be that. I mean, why not? It'd be the biggest fight for me next in boxing, and I haven't got long left in the 160-pound division, so it's not me going on about taking certain defences. It's all about just fighting the big fight.
Sure. And it lines up because
esteemed trainer Mark Tibbs underscores the significance of weight cuts in determining fight outcomes. He acknowledges Benn's ferocity and heart, but cautions that moving up in weight presents substantial challenges. Tibbs emphasizes that unless one is privy to the fighter's training camps, it's difficult to assess how effectively they are managing the weight transition, which could be a decisive factor in the bout.
It's a special time for myself as a fan in this fight, yeah, for sure.
If you're Conor Benn, what does he have to do to go up 2 weight classes and beat Eubank?
Well, listen, look, fights are won and lost on the scales most of the time. You get me? Not most of the time, but fights are won and lost on the scales. Unless you're in the camp and you're around the camp, it's difficult to make judgments. But listen, Ben's got the ferocity and he's got the art and the ferocity and art and all of that. He's got and he has looked good. He has looked good of late. When he was active. What's his name? The other guy, Eubanks. For me, he's been a little bit inactive, but he's an hard fucker and all. I'll tell you what. When his old man sent him out to New York, I forget who he was with now. But he was out in New York, his old man's conditioned him. His old man. I like the job that both their fathers have done on their kids. I like Eubank, the way he talks. I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off here now, but I like him. I can't say I dislike him. And Ben, and he reminds me of his old man. You know what I mean? He reminds me of his old man. So yeah, great fight, great fight. I'm looking forward to it.
And then just circling back to your gym, what's the latest with?
The pre-fight build-up has seen its share of theatrics, notably an incident where Chris Eubank Jr. slapped Conor Benn with an egg. TalkSport analysts describe the act as both poetic and humorous, reflecting the intense psychological warfare between the fighters. Such antics add an extra layer of intrigue and can influence the mental preparedness of both athletes as they approach the fight.
It's a fight that I'll be watching. I'll be there, obviously, on the night, but if I wasn't there,
what have you made of the antics?
I would be watching it.
What have you made of the antics? Do you think? I mean,
I've seen worse. I said about Chisora in throwing the table towards Dylan White. I was filming it. I was sitting in the front row of the press conference. I was at the press conference. And I was laughing and joking about it, and afterwards it was okay. It was a bit of a rant by Chisora, but we expect that from Chisora. I'm not going to lie, when it happened, I laughed my head off. I absolutely laughed my head off.
I did too.
I thought it was quite poetic. I thought what happened was quite funny. It wasn't dangerous. It wasn't something that, like, I had someone, Nigel, saying I thought he glassed him. I can understand by the noise of it. Things happen fast in the heat of a moment. I get it. But afterwards, all's well that ends well, really. And it's created a lot more fuss about the fight, a lot more column inches, a lot more press and publicity. all publicity is good publicity, but then the board come in and think they can find a fight at £100,000 for it, and that's their prerogative, but it didn't sit right with me.
Some boxing experts have reflected on the timing of this matchup, suggesting that it might have been more compelling if it had occurred earlier in their careers. The implication is that both fighters are at different stages, and the current timing may affect the competitiveness of the bout. However, others argue that Benn's recent performances indicate he has a legitimate shot at victory, despite the timing concerns.
Eubank Benn.
Yeah. Well, it's bigger than it ever was. It's 3 times bigger than it was before the 2 positive clomiphene tests. Ben's dangerous early in that fight, in my view, because he's coming with all that stinging venom and kind of pent-up aggression that he's developed over the last 2.5 years. But I think Eubank's fought the better level of opponents, even though he's aged 2.5 years and he's been knocked out by Liam Smith. I go Eubank on points. What do you go?
I go Benn.
Early?
Early.
Yeah, you may be right.
I just think from the history, I'd love to see the Benn family celebrate.
I'm looking forward to the build-up once they get the fathers involved. April the 26th. Nigel and Conor are both emotional. And Chris both play the villain, don't they?
Okay.
Even though I think in this one, Eubank Jr. is going to be able to sit back a little bit. Yeah, some people are saying that they don't think the fight means anything, but I think the bloodline, but in British sport.
Any man in the UK who's watched the dads fight are desperate to watch this fight.
Sports commentator Simon Jordan has been openly critical of Chris Eubank Jr., questioning his potential to become a world champion. Jordan's skepticism is rooted in his personal assessment of Eubank Jr.'s boxing abilities, suggesting that he lacks the necessary skills to reach the pinnacle of the sport. This critique adds to the diverse range of opinions surrounding the fight.
I've said it from day one. He will never be world champion.
Is that because you don't like him?
No.
Or is that because you don't think he's got the capability?
I'll tell you the reason why. Simon, because I've been in the ring with him. I know the difference between your David Lemieux, why I can see why they were world champion, your Andy Lees, why they were world champion, even John Ryder. Eubank can fight, but he just can't box.
Right.
That's the problem. He can fight, but he can't box. Eubank is, when we were going back 24, 25, like a wind-up toy, you could get him fit, wind him up, let him go, and he'd go all day.
Yeah.
Now we're at the stage of 33, 34, where you've got to learn to pace yourself, pick your punches, flow around. No disrespect to Liam Smith, but he was no different than a punch bag.
Well, you don't think he's going to win a world title?
He'll never, ever, ever be... I'll tell you what I would do with you, Simon. I'll have a bet with you now, and I'll give you 2-1, and I will pay me bets.
Well, I'm not like judges or
I will pay me bets. He'll never be world champion as long as he's got an O on him.
Renowned boxing analyst Teddy Atlas has praised Chris Eubank Jr.'s talent, particularly when he is mentally focused. Atlas emphasizes that Eubank Jr. ice no, as discipline and experience could be significant factors in the fight, suggesting that his mental preparedness will be crucial to his performance.
It'll be an interesting fight. You know, you can make I like parts of each guy. You know, I like the ability of Eubanks when he's right. You know, when his focus is there, when he's right. To be able to do things in a boxing way on the outside. And I love Benn's style and his approach. I do, where, you know, being aggressive in a responsible way, you know, in a way a fighter should be, with paying attention to, you know, doing it with defense and responsibility of defense and, you know, just proper way to engage somebody, but the consistent offense, looking to, you know, to engage. I think it's an interesting, and again, the thing that the flowers that come with it is the interest of the fan.
Trainer Dave Coldwell believes Chris Eubank Jr. has key advantages in this fight, mainly due to his experience and size. Eubank has competed at an elite level for years, facing top-tier opponents, which helps him stay composed under pressure.
I just think that, you know, there's size advantages with Chris. There's experience at fighting at a higher level with Chris, but there's also a lot more wear and tear on Chris. You know, also, you know, Chris is getting older. Making 160 is getting harder, but just getting older as a you know, is a fact. Age catches up on us, and I thought, you know, his last fight, I did think he looked old. So there are a lot of factors to this fight. There's, you know, Conor Benn's not boxed at the level. Not that Chris is, you know, an amazing level, but he's not had the same sort of experience as what Chris has had. But also, he's sharper, he's faster. and we've seen that Chris can get knocked out, so you don't know what's going to happen.
Coldwell pointed out that when a fighter steps up against a much larger opponent, they need absolute confidence in their ability to win. However, he also warned that the rehydration process after a weight cut could present challenges, potentially affecting performance. Despite Benn's aggression, Eubank's experience and physicality might give him the upper hand in this upcoming showdown.
From the past that were now brought into the present. So yeah, that's good, and I'm glad Chris and his dad have made up, because I know that they seem to have had the problems and stuff. So that's good to hear. As for the show and for the hype, that just adds to it. It's going to be nuts, obviously.
What are you saying in regards of two things here? How much of that Conor Benn having to make up that weight where Eubank is, and also the rehydration, which kind of limits Eubank for the next day? What do you think about those situations?
Well, I'm not a fan of rehydration clauses, to be fair. When it's, I get the IBF, it's world title fight, that's their rules, not a problem. £10. But when it's not a title fight, if you're picking a fight against a guy that's a lot bigger, you're believing that you can beat that man. Well, it said that he only puts on about £8-9 anyway. So really, if that's the case, then it doesn't really make any difference. So crack on. The question for me is, does Eubank stay strong, get into 160? Because in his last fight, it's also the first time I've looked at him and thought, you look cold. So I don't know. Ben's going to go in there swinging, guns blazing. I don't know what he walks around at. He's not really been a puncher at light middleweight when he's boxed, that sort of weight a couple of times. I don't know. It's interesting. It's one of those fights where you think that the bigger man should win and he should be able to do a job on him, but the pace and intensity that Conor Benn's going to bring as well, it could catch him. It's not like now how it was before, where you looked at.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.